What is reality? It seems like a very ridiculous question to ask anyone. Reality is what is objectively real, right? So questioning reality is basically questioning what is objectively real. Except each one of us is having a subjective experience. So what may be real for me may not be real for you. Does that make it any less real? If we are sharing an experience in the same time and location, and my experience differs largely from yours, you might think that I'm crazy, right? Let me give an example. A husband and wife go to a dinner party together. They are friends with the hosts, but they don't know the other guests who have been invited. There are 8 people in total. The host and his wife, Terry and June, our husband and wife, who we'll call Michael and Meg. The 2 other couples were unmarried. Jason and Samantha had been in a long-term relationship of 5 years. The other couple, David and Tracy, only together for 7 months. Everyone at this party had something attractive about themselves. Successful, physically attractive, interesting lives. You know, the kind of sickening characters that you find in your average Hollywood movie. The hosts, and Michael and Meg, were dressed stylishly but modestly. Jason was dressed well, and his partner Samantha was dressed very provocatively. Same with Dave and Tracy. Both females were wearing very revealing outfits. A lot of skin, cleavage, and side boob visible. The dynamics of the relationships were different. The host and his wife were traditional, as were Michael and Meg, but Jason and Samantha were swingers. Dave was a wannabe swinger, and his girlfriend Tracy was just kind of going along with it because she really liked Dave. The alcohol was flowing freely, and the young couple had brought some cocaine with them. But Michael didn't drink and was trying to stay away from the devil's dandruff. Meg liked to drink, as did Terry and June. Jason was a heavy drinker, and Samantha didn't drink much, but did enjoy a line now and again, whenever it was offered. The evening was not intended to be a swinging event. What do you think happened? I'm pretty sure that as I was describing these individuals and the situation, your mind started to immediately create images. I described enough detail for you to form a picture, and now I've asked, what do you think happened? You will have naturally started imagining the possibilities. All of these imaginings will be based on your own reference points, your own experience of group situations, your own knowledge and experience of drugs and alcohol, your own experience of men and women in relationships and seduction. If this were a true story that I'm telling, whose version of events can be most trusted to be accurate or true? Would it be a version given by one of the guests? Would it be the sober man, Michael? He stayed sober all night and managed to avoid the temptation of the sniff, but Meg could succumb to the peer pressure after a few glasses of wine. Terry was drunk and had done a couple of lines. June was smashed and didn't touch the white stuff. Dave was only snorting, and Tracy was drinking and snorting. Whose perception could be trusted when it comes to documenting what actually happened and why? None of this is real. It's all a figment of my imagination, but the words that I've used have conjured clear images in your minds. If you're like me, scenarios were playing out in your mind's eyes, all based upon your own experience. I have had a lot of experience, but not everybody has. Does your experience mean that you're better suited to deciphering what occurred? If you weren't there, how can you know what happened? If these were real events, we all have to rely on the testimonies of those involved. But remember that so far we know very little about these characters. Tracy is a compulsive liar. Dave is dishonest when it suits him. Michael and Meg are as honest as any honest person. Terry is egotistical and embellishes stories, but wouldn't necessarily outright lie, and June is very neurotic and suffers from depression that she takes medication for. See how the picture is becoming slightly clearer, but you still can't honestly say what might have happened. Now let's change the scene completely and put this into a here and now situation. What's happening in the Middle East? We rely 100% on second and third-hand sources, most of which are in the pockets of some institution, corporation, or secret cabal. This is how it has been ever since the printed word hit the streets, ever since radio and then television, or some call it tell-lie vision. They realized in 1938, when H.G. Wells' fictional story was broadcast over the CBS radio network, that they could control reality for masses of people purely through descriptive storytelling. Well, actually, I would argue that they've known this ever since the creation of synagogues, mosques, and cathedrals. The truth is that our own minds, our own imaginations, our own perceptions determine what is real for us in our subjective experience of an objective reality. If I tell you that something is real and you refuse to accept it, it does not matter how actual the thing is. Now, if we're talking about something that is of material substance, it is very difficult to argue over if it is real or not. If I place a stone on the floor and you can all see it's a stone, our collective subconscious and conscious minds all agree that the rock is a rock, and that if I kick that rock, I'd break a toe, unless I'm wearing steel toe caps or something. If you cannot see the rock I'm describing, you can either trust my word or doubt it, but we still agree that a rock is a rock. What if I'm talking about the things that are not actually physically manifest in this world? What if I'm talking about feelings, or ghosts, or spirits? The words I use will determine the images conjured in your mind's eye. Your perception of those words will determine the images formed. There are people who have known this for time immemorial. Deceptive people who have used our perceptions against us. We can all generally agree on the material things that we see, taste, touch, or smell. Strawberries, for example, have a very distinctive taste, touch, and smell. If I say strawberry, everyone who has experienced strawberries in some way will agree on what they are, but will not all agree on if they are juicy and delicious. Some people hate strawberries. Some people have an aversion to them. They're creeped out by them. Some people are sexually excited by them, for crying out loud. The way we feel about strawberries can differ, but we all agree that strawberries exist. Well, what about demons? There is no empirical or objective proof of demons. The only thing we can prove is the different ways that people feel about demons, not what they are or if they exist. Some will say they don't even exist, they're a figment of imagination, a Hollywood trope, a fantasy. Some people will die on the hill screaming that they are certain of their physical presence in this world. I am suggesting that it has been known for a long time that reality is what we collectively agree on, not what actually is. Each one of us is having a totally unique subjective experience that's based on our own perceptions of the world that we live in. The other people we encounter in this world and the things that we cannot physically experience with our own five senses, but are described to us by others. This is how there is a relatively small group of people who are controlling the objective reality that is being described to us. Your own perception determines what is real for you, and only the things that truly matter are the things that you are personally experiencing. They say it's a small world. It absolutely is, because our world is only what you can perceive it to be. Real is what you agree it to be, and nothing more.